Testing. 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 Perfect. Hi team, this is Fred on Film. Yeah, surprise, surprise. New title. Get used to it. I'm going to change everything all the time. No, I'm not. Fred on Film is the title, right? Oh, where's my Fredflix fucking neon sign? Fuck. Oh well, fuck it off. Name's gone anyway. So I thought I was going to call this Fredflix. But do you know what? I thought Fredflix was a brilliant pun. Just like catchy, right? And you're like, oh, it's film and TV. Got Fred in it, right? But people were quite confused by it sometimes. And I was like, do you know what? Fuck it. Fred on Film. I devised this new profile picture with me in a strip of film and some popcorn behind. And I thought, this is perfect because I'm on film in the profile picture. And on film, I'm talking on film, right? Brackets and TV. Fred Asquith on Film, the official title. But between me and you, between friends, Fred on Film, or FOF for short. I did say bear with me. Oh, frog in my throat. I did say bear with me, and that is part of the process of bearing with me is, look, change the fucking name, but it's not going to change now. And I was so happy with the branding. I'm so happy. I was really happy with last week's episode, and like it just felt so like natural, like to talk about this and to clip it up and get it out there, and like people seem to respond in quite an enthusiastic way, more so than let's write a screenplay. So where the fuck were you all? But also that's nice because it means this feels like a kind of the right path. Today we're going to talk about things such as Mobland, The Last of Us, episode 1 for series 2, the new movie Drop, Black Mirror, trailers such as Eddington, a very exciting new opportunity, which I'm not allowed to tell you about, but I'm going to tell you about anyway. The new Harry Potter casting news. God, there's so much. But I'm trying to keep these episodes tight because I've got quite a few podcasts that I follow in my life that they're like 90 minutes long. And I just, it's quite a lot to get through that. And then like there's a few YouTube creators I follow as well, and like that aren't podcasts, but they just make videos. And like there's this one creator that's posted this morning, it's 2 hours long. Like, it's almost like, oh, shall I watch that? Or shall I watch The Godfather Part 1? Like it starts to become a real question then of like, how am I spending my time? Anyway, I've already wasted a minute talking about it. So I'm going to try and keep these trim for the sake of entertainment. So first of all, I'd like to touch on, what should we do first? What's really in the zeitgeist? Last of Us, Season 2, Episode 1. So second time in a row I've talked about TV first when it's called, when it was previously Fredflix, which kind of makes sense actually, and is now Fred on Film. But anyway, fuck it. It's Fred on Film, brackets and TV. It's FOFAT, right? For short. Last of Us Season 2, Episode 1. I wasn't a player. I didn't play Last of Us, and I wasn't a massive fan of Season 1. Because I think, having not played the game, I guess I wasn't aware like how contemplative and meditative a show it was going to be. And I think the players did know that. Correct me if I'm wrong. It felt like for a a zombie-based show, there weren't that many zombies, right? But I got on board with it, and it was like a real magical time for me and my fiance, then girlfriend. We really bonded over Last of Us Season 1. When you're kind of watching something with your partner and you kind of don't really love it, but it's something that you can both talk about, and it's something that you can catch up on, and we weren't living together at the time, so The Last of Us has a place in our hearts, even if we weren't massive fans. And this Season 2, Episode 1 felt like more of the same. It felt like, that they're trying to... I'm going to say spoilers for everything that I talk about today, by the way. They're trying to, show a split between those two protagonists. They're trying to show that the young lady, I've forgotten her character name, they're trying to show that, like, she's grown up and she's kind of moved on from him because she felt like he's lied to her. And we're 5 years later from the end of series 1, and kind of the zombies feel like less of a constant threat. They actually kind of playing around with zombies rather than fearing them. There's a relationship brewing between the main lady protagonist and another lady in the camp. I don't know why I keep saying lady. I just hate the word girl. I actually think they're supposed to be like 18. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so it was more of the same for me and us. Watched it with my fiance again, in the sense that like we weren't electrified, vivified by this episode, but I like the performances, I like the world, and I like the atmosphere, and I'll keep watching. But yeah, it's more of like a kind of passive I'll keep watching rather than can't wait for the next one. And again, I keep being told by people who played the games, this is going to happen. They won't say specifically, but they were like, there's a big thing that's coming in season 2. And I'm like, is there though? Is there though? Because like action-wise, because like it felt like there was very few of that in the season 1, and maybe the game was just great, and maybe they're all red-pilled on the game, and that's okay. I'm happy for you, but I'm not. To get the TV out of the way, let's smash out Mobland and Black Mirror. I'm watching Mobland. So we spoke about last week how I did the premiere junket, interviewed Pierce, Helen Mirren, Pierce on first name terms, Tom Hardy, blanked me. And, I was not obliged to watch it in terms of that kind of brand partnership with Paramount Plus. But I am watching it because I do like Tom Hardy. I really like Pierce Brosnan. I love Paddy Considine, who's playing the brother in it. I'm curious about a Guy Ritchie TV project, and I'm also kind of thirsty for that vibe, that kind of action crime vibe, since Day of the Jackal was so good towards the end of last year. And then The Agency, also on Paramount Plus, which was Michael Fassbender, I think at the start of this year. It's really given me the bug for that type of show. So again, kind of passively watching this, not second screening, but I'm just watching it. I don't think it's the best thing ever made. I think my biggest problem with Mobland, to talk specifically, is that I don't think the performers are as astute at performing Guy Ritchie dialogue as normal Guy Ritchie day players are. So if you think about like the classic Guy Ritchie performances of old, I mean, Brad Pitt kind of is a bit of an anomaly, but who would we say wow, why the fuck am I blanking? Who's the main guy in Snatch? Why am I blanking? Just the guy who plays Bricktop and stuff, and like all those guys in Lock, Stock. Like there's a real like rhythm and poetry to Guy Ritchie dialogue, where you have to pitch it right between intense and comical. I don't think Tom Hardy's getting that balance correct, just right, just so far. I think that he's slightly too far on the realism side. I don't see him injecting enough playfulness in there. He's definitely trying to kind of be wry. He's trying to deliver lines in a kind of comically wry way, but he's not playful enough. I think in Guy Ritchie dialogue, you need to... I know it wasn't actually written by Guy Ritchie, by the way, but it's obviously in that vein, and he oversaw it. I mean, he said that to my actual face. How great is that? But I do think he's not playing up to it enough. Like, he's not like... He's trying to be Cockney, and he's coming across as like posh boy. I don't know. Paddy Considine, I know full well he's from Yorkshire, and so I'm not buying it from him either. Helen Mirren, I'm not sure that performance is quite hitting the right notes for me. She's trying to appear like the real puppet master of the family. I'm not sure it's working because she's actually coming across quite like trigger happy, quite flippant, quite volatile, and I don't see the dynamic of that marriage working as well as I think it should. It's quite difficult to put into words how I'm feeling about that, actually. But yeah, I guess I could boil it all down to I want it to be more Guy Ritchie. And when I interviewed him, God, I love saying that. When I interviewed him, he said, my primary focus was tone. I wanted this to be tonally different. I wanted this to be family-orientated crime drama. And so, fair, he's actively not trying to make it Guy Ritchie. I disagree, Guy, I don't think that tone's working. But I am watching it and I'm enjoying it. I'm just enjoying it, like I say, in kind of like this is nice, it's on a Sunday, I'm not really thinking, just going over my head kind of thing. Final TV thing to get across is I watched 2 more episodes of Black Mirror. Bete Noir, I think that's how you pronounce it, which is episode 2. And then I also skipped ahead to episode 5 to watch Eulogy because I love Paul Giamatti. These 2 episodes I preferred to Common People, which were the first episode. If you want the synopses for these episodes, fucking Google it, like I always say. But like generally, Bete Noir is about kind of like workplace politics, couched in like the most Black Mirror-y way you could possibly imagine. I loved the performances in this. It's kind of like 2 colleagues coming up to loggerheads because they've got some history of bullying back at school and stuff, and the lead performances were like fantastic. And I'm not aware of the actors' names, both of them, but I'm sure they've done other stuff, but I think we'll see a lot more from them in the future. Same as always, same as I said last week, I like Black Mirror, but I struggle to love Black Mirror because once the story tips, you feel like in every Black Mirror show, you're kind of climbing up the hill, you're trying to peek over the top of this hill. What's on the other side? And once you get there and you can see what's on the other side, and yet there's still 20 minutes left, and you're like, oh, okay, so it's going to go that way. And again, this isn't a criticism of predictability necessarily, because I couldn't predict where this was going from like minute 10. It's just that I feel that once the twist is the nadir the right word? Like once the kind of apex has been hit, you can see the end of the road, and tonally and sometimes story-wise as well. And you're like, I get it. I get where it's going. I get what it's doing. And there's always another 20 minutes after that. I don't know how you would fix that because I'm not a great writer. I'm trying to be. But yeah, it's just how I feel as an audience member. And Eulogy, on the other hand, was Paul Giamatti's character climbing into old photographs in order to, I guess, reconcile his trauma and grief about losing his first true love. And that I liked more because that wasn't necessarily like twist-based, and it wasn't about this technology ruining his life, which is generally the way these things go. It was about him reconnecting through these old photographs with this woman that he loved. And I thought that was really touching. And if you ever want an actor to carry something that's like touching with a lot of gravitas, but also very grounded, Paul Giamatti's your guy. Like Sideways is one of my favourite films of all time. It actually was my favourite film when I was like 16, which is a bit weird. I look back and I'm like, what was I seeing in that at 16? It's the Alexander Payne film. Anyway, ever since then, I've been a huge Paul Giamatti fan, and I think he smashes it in this episode. And it's pretty much like there's very few actors in it. I think there's like 3. So he's carrying this whole episode and bringing across the emotion of this concept, and it really works. So I'd probably say, I liked both these 2 episodes. I'd probably say Eulogy worked better for me as like a full episode in regards to that tonal point. Okay, that's the TV out of the way. These are some very exciting things. Ooh, what should we do? I'd like to move on to the Harry Potter casting news. So whether or not you agree with, whether or not I agree with JK Rowling's views on women and the trans community, which I don't. It's like it's that classic old thing of like, can you separate the artist from the art? And in the case of Harry Potter, I am trying to. Because it matters a lot to me as a world separate from JK Rowling, if that's even possible. It matters a lot to me and my life. And that's annoying. Like, it's so annoying that she's poisoned what's the word? Poisoned the well? Is that the word? Because it was just such a perfect thing. And now it's not a perfect thing in terms of the world and the context around it. But what I'm trying to do is just detach that from JK Rowling. Thankfully, she was always quite a in the shadows, in the background, reserved character. Even when the films were coming out, obviously she goes to the premieres and she was still writing the books to a certain extent. But she never did that many interviews, so it's not like, I don't know. It's not like Steven Spielberg. And you can't watch a Steven Spielberg film without seeing him in every aspect of it, and he does so many interviews and he's so present. Martin Scorsese, I can't think of another author because I'm not a very literary person. But yeah, J.K. Rowling, I find it easier to detach her from the world for that reason. Anyway, despite that, and in spite of that, I'm going to try and engage with this HBO Harry Potter project that's coming out, and they're trying to make one series per book, which I think fundamentally is a great idea. It's a great idea. It's something that I really wanted to happen for just a random point, for a series of unfortunate events, the Lemony Snicket thing. Not a full series, but I think they brought out like kind of almost like a pilot series where the first 3 books were depicted in 3 or 4 episodes. And I was like, yeah, you should do all 13 books. Turns out, when you actually look back, the second half of that series is fucking wank. Anyway, one series per book in the Harry Potter world really makes sense. And I'm so excited about that because I think big fans' biggest problem with the film series is how much you have to shave off in order to make it a reasonably efficient 2-hour, 20-minute film. And I think they struggled with that early on. I think Philosopher's Stone or Chamber of Secrets is the longest one. I think it's Chamber of Secrets, maybe. Or it's certainly up there. They really struggled to do that shaving. By the end, they got quite good at it, but it meant that the world actually felt quite hollow in a weird way. Like, it felt almost thin. And the books were anything but, right? The books were rich and textured and deep, and like you felt like you could never know all of the lore in the Harry Potter world. So one series per book is just a brilliant idea, and I hope the opposite problem doesn't happen. I hope they don't stretch it too far and delve too deep and kind of lose the main thread of the plot, which JK herself does do sometimes in the books. So this new casting news, we have our Dumbledore, who is John Lithgow. We have our Snape, who is Paapa Essiedu. We have our McGonagall, who is Janet McTeer. We have our Hagrid, who is Nick Frost. Our Filch, who is Paul Whitehouse. And our Professor Quirrell, who is Luke Fallon. Let's just touch on Paapa Essiedu first. Predictably, a lot of the online discourse was about Paapa Essiedu's race. He's a black man. He's playing Snape, who was previously played by a white man. I don't want to get involved in that. I think it's quite... I don't want to give oxygen to it. As far as I'm concerned, it's embedded in racism as a conversation. And as far as I'm concerned, they've auditioned people for a role to embody a character, right? They've found the best people for the roles. I don't think there's any question beyond that. So I'm excited to see that character portrayed by Paapa Essiedu, who I haven't seen enough of because I haven't watched Gangs of London, and he's been in a lot of other stuff apparently. He's got a lot of buzz around him. So I'm mega excited. My biggest problem is twofold. It's one with Nick Frost as Hagrid. Don't have a problem with the casting. I just have a problem with, I hope they've seen something there, because I don't know if he has the gravitas and the fatherliness to carry that role like Robbie Coltrane did. Like, what's his accent going to be? Is he going to go for a West Country accent? Like the one he did in Hot Fuzz? Like that dopey... Like, obviously, he's an actor. He's gonna change his performance, but I haven't seen that from him. Whenever I've seen him try and do gravitas, it comes across as hokey. Towards the end of Shaun of the Dead, for example. So I'm concerned about that. Another accent concern is John Lithgow. He did an English accent for playing Winston Churchill in a TV show, I think it was. And it was great. But to sustain an accent perfectly for 7 seasons of a beloved, specifically British property is something that I'm really scared about. Because I'm a real, like, accent ear guy. Like, I love I love imitating people, listening to accents, and like I'm the type of person to like spot if I feel there's a gap in that accent. And so if John Lithgow slips up, you best believe I'll be on him. Because Dumbledore is he's the what would you say, the brains or the heart of the books. It's important, so important for those core characters to be on the money. I'm not talking about the kids, because you can give them a bit of leeway, like we saw in the films, like to grow into those roles. But if you're talking about those core characters that need to be perfect from jump, you're talking Dumbledore. And you're talking Snape, and you're talking Hagrid. I'd now like to talk about Drop, which is a new movie from Blumhouse. And I do say Google the synopsis, but for this it's very easy. Drop is about going on a date and receiving sinister airdrops from someone else in the restaurant. And you, throughout the process of this date, have to discover who is it, why are they doing it, and are my family safe? I saw this mid-afternoon on Sunday, and it's a very Agatha Christie coded piece, you know? It's a whodunit, it's a Cluedo, who in the room is the bad guy, you know? Therein lies the issue with this. The mystery is nowhere near expansive enough. So you know when you kind of watch those old Agatha Christie's or even the new Poirot's with Kenneth Branagh, there are tens of suspects at any one time. Like, you'll walk through the train carriage in Murder of the Orient Express and there'll be like fucking... Like, you're meant to suspect every single one of them for different reasons, sometimes simultaneously. That's important, right? You know, that's important for this type of thing. When you go see Mousetrap on the West End, you suspect, at least 4 or 5 people at any one time. In this, they never really bring your attention to any legitimate suspects above 2, really. I think the writer might argue that there's maybe 4, but that's only because there are fleeting moments where the film almost like forces you to think about a particular person in the room who otherwise isn't depicted in the film. So there's a point where it, like, the camera swings around, it's like, could it be him? Could it be her? But we never see those people ever again. So there's no reason why you would think it's them, right? The only people it's ever going to be are one of the 2 people that we fucking talk to, right? Because why else would it be anyway? It's not going to be like, oh, it's that guy in the corner we haven't seen until like minute 60. It's going to be one of the 2 people we talk to. And that's a fundamental issue. Like, if you're writing something that's Cluedo, Agatha Christie-esque, you got to set up like 7 or 8 people at least. Like, make it interesting. Because, like, I'm just going through being like, well, it's one of these 2, and they're really trying to make me think it's this one. So I guess it's the other one. And it was. There's no reason why it's cut into this guy over and over again. He seems like he's not relevant, but we have talked to him for a 5-minute scene, and he's obviously relevant, so it's him. And like, once you lose that mystery, it doesn't really hold up as a thriller in and of itself, because it's one of those things where every horror film has this problem, but it's not really a horror either, it's a thriller, but they have this problem where it's like, what would you do in that situation? You know, there's airdrops coming through saying, don't tell your date, or like, don't go to the bathroom, don't talk to these girls in the bathroom. And I'm like, there's ways around it. There is ways around it. Like, this person isn't an omniscient, omnipresent God. Like, you can tell someone and you know, I'm just a bit like, eh. So it didn't work. I logged my review on Letterboxd. I think I gave it 2 stars out of 5. Follow me on Letterboxd if you don't already, at Fred Asquith. So yeah, and I think the less said about that, the better. I was really excited about it as well. Films I'm going to see in the coming week. Sinners. I've got tickets to the Odeon Lux Leicester Square on Friday, which will be just gone as you're watching this. And I'm so very excited. It's Dolby Atmos in there. Get a recliner. Get a few snacks. Lock in for a Friday night. Oh, Ryan Coogler. Oh, Michael B. Jordan. Let's fucking go. Vampire film? What? So, I'm going to go see that. And then I'm not going to be able to catch it this weekend, bank holiday weekend, just gone when you're watching this, but because I'm in Berlin, and I will be once this is released as well. But I will go see A24 and Alex Garland's new film Warfare next week. And this is mainly for the sound design. So this is kind of a one-location story of the Iraq War with Will Poulter in it. And I saw Alex Garland's Civil War last year, and the sound design was out of this world. I went to see it in another Dolby Atmos cinema, and it blew me tits off. Like, I fucking... It was insane. Not just loud, just, like, so rich and so layered and, like, so interesting and yet overwhelming to listen to. And so I'm going to go see it for that, because I'm not really into single location dramas, but it's getting good word, and again, the sound design specifically is getting good word. So I will be going to see that. So we'll have some reviews of that next week, I hope. And then we're going to talk about 2 trailers and then a very exciting piece of news to finish. The Eddington trailer. So this is a trailer for Ari Aster's new film, which is coming out this year. And it appears to be one of the very, very few films about lockdown, and possibly the first ever major film about lockdown. And that's not counting Contagion, which predicted lockdown before lockdown even happened, which is a great film. It's also not counting Locked Down with Anne Hathaway in it, which wasn't a major release. It's not counting Inside, the comedy special-y kind of candid documentary by Bo Burnham, which came out on Netflix kind of during the pandemic, because that's not a narrative feature. This, to me, feels like the first film about lockdown. And I was talking to my friend about it, and he said, I don't want to see a film about lockdown. And I was like, I kind of know what you mean, but what do you mean? Because, like, whenever the world or whatever go through kind of a seismic or traumatic event, it's depicted on film pretty quick, you know. Like, you know, going back as far back as the World Wars up to present day with the Iraq War and warfare, you know, we depict these things in film in order to process them and reflect, and kind of build an opinion on how we feel about that time, right? And yet we haven't done that with lockdown to any degree, really. It's such a strange time, and everyone wants to forget about it because it was kind of traumatic. Well, it wasn't kind of, it was in a lot of ways. Emotionally, a lot of people's mental health, but then also the public health crisis itself. But it was also all-encompassing, right? It was the entire world. So it's arguably bigger than anything since the World War. And yet, we haven't depicted this in film yet. Is it because it's too soon? It's 2025. It ended 2021. But I guess some people feel emotionally it ended 2022. So you could say we're 3 to 4 years after lockdown. Is that too soon? Well, if you think about an event like 9/11, I feel like there were films, whether for right or wrong, that came out about 9/11 within 4 or 5 years. I feel like this feels like a decent enough time to do it. So I said to my friend, like, I want this. Like, I think this has to happen at some point. We have to have a pandemic movie. And I just hope that when that happens, it comes from an auteur director who knows what they're doing and who has a point to make, and that it's not just some kind of genre-based occupation of that time. So like a horror in lockdown, which we've had even a few of them, and like the screen share one, I've forgotten what it was called. I want it to be like, yeah, like a it looks like this is exactly that. It looks like this is an angsty drama. It's got a brilliant cast: Austin Butler, Joaquin Phoenix. It looks like it's very politicized, which is an interesting approach, because I think personally I want to process lockdown emotionally, not politically. I think we're still processing lockdown politically, and it's that I kind of agree with my mate on that. That's not really something I care to spend much more time thinking about. But I trust Ari Aster. I think his films are very, very intellectual, and I love that. Even when they're genre movies, Hereditary is like elevated horror, that awful phrase. Midsommar is one of the best kind of horror movies of the last couple of decades, despite the fact it's kind of sidestepping the genre deliberately with the way with its tone and its visuals. And Beau is Afraid was like such a hilarious 3-hour descent into absolute insanity, to the point where I actually ended up rejecting it by the end. But I think Ari Aster will have been happy with that. First hour I was laughing my head off, and the last hour I was truly traumatized. So needless to say, I trust Ari Aster in processing this topic. And like I said to my friend, I do think it needs to be done at some point. So given it's Ari Aster, why not now? So I'm excited about that. Then also just to say, I watched a trailer called The Life of Chuck, starring Tom Hiddleston, apparently written by Stephen King, the screenplay itself. And apparently it seems on Letterboxd like it says this came out 2024, but they're trailing it to be released widely in 2025. So I don't know if it played at some festivals or something. But this trailer told me that it's the It's a Wonderful Life of this generation, which is immediately like, that's something I want to see, because I'm soppy. I love soppy, life-affirming movies. And this looks like exactly that. And Tom Hiddleston, it looks like a role that's perfect for him. And just to say that I got shivers at this trailer. So go and watch this trailer. I haven't got anything else to say about it other than that. But I love that it looks like a simple and yet very broad story about life. And I love that type of thing. So I'm happy to see that it's getting buzz, and it's coming in June, apparently. The Life of Chuck. Final piece of news. So I'm not allowed to tell you about this, but I'm going to tell you in a secret way, right? Because I've signed an NDA. And I'm allowed to say I've signed an NDA because that's not in the NDA. I have been asked to submit a pitch, essentially, to take part in an upcoming junket for an upcoming giant film, which I will not name. And I am very excited. Off the back of my Mobland premiere interviewing on the red carpet experience, this will be the second one for me. And if this comes off, we're going to have a lot of things to talk about on this podcast. Woo! I'm so excited. It's really, I feel vindicated in starting this show as a solo project finally, because I think if I'd have started it 2 years ago, like I sometimes wish I had, I probably wouldn't have had that much to talk about beyond the type of things we've been talking about most of the time, which is like reviews, this is what I watched and this is what I think and blah, blah, blah. But now I feel like there's a little added spice in that I'm really trying to penetrate this industry and like do these interviews and junkets and like go to these premieres. And I think that that's the real meat of this that I want to bring to the forefront, is that like I hope that these chats can be a window into that for you and for me, because like I've never done any of this before. So if I do get this junket, I hope to tell you all about that experience, because like even though I've got some friends who've done junkets, I don't know what the fuck goes on. You're in a hotel room where? Did you wait outside? Are there other reporters outside? Do you sit in a waiting room? Do you go in? Do you set up and have to make small talk as you set up, or do you just plug in? Like, literally, what do you fucking do? Are you nervous? Like, how? Just the whole world is like a mystery to me. And so, if I get that job, we're gonna have a lot of things to talk about. I think that's a good note to end on. So this was Fred on film. Fred on film. Fred on film. Fred brackets Asquith on film brackets and TV. Like, subscribe, share, like, subscribe, share, like, subscribe, share. Really, thank you for being here. If you got this far, please do subscribe. Why the fuck would you watch this much and not subscribe? Okay? And send in your thoughts in the comments about anything that we talked about today. I will be going to Berlin for Bank Holiday weekend, probably when you're listening to this on Monday. And I will see you next week, where I'll be talking probably about Sinners, Warfare, and maybe some more news on this junket. So that's exciting. Thanks very much, guys. Thanks for watching. And I will... Oh, and follow the Instagram. Follow the Instagram. So that's at Fred Asquith on film. Because I'm going to put clips there and stuff. That's exciting. Thanks for coming. See you next time. Bye-bye.